Hey everybody, it's Ron here again over at Becoming Enlightened Together. This is yet another attempt, in this case, to post this very reading. It's cut out for whatever reasons, technical, glitches I am still experiencing. So let's look at today's runic reading. Today's reading is a repeat to some degree of what we just posted. So it does speak about some of the energies related specifically to karmics, but there's other energies here as well. And there could be some crossover, or it could be relating to perhaps somebody within the collective that's, knowing somebody who is actually coming to the end of their life due to disease, or in some cases even suicide. Thinking about that, we're seeing that energy shown here. So it's very candid in the overall energy, and we see that at least four times in terms of the runes today. So it's a negative energy that's coming forward, a spirit of wanting to take oneself out, self-deletion, and that doesn't come from above, and that defies, human will, which is very powerful to survive. If you're faced with a situation where, at least as far as a medical, solution is concerned, there is no hope, and you need somebody to talk to, or just to listen to you, to vent, then if you got nobody else, you can reach out to me. I'll listen to you. I mean, we all need somebody, and I've been in positions where there's nobody for me to talk to. So I understand how that could add insult to injury in this world, in this life. And, I'll offer my ear, my shoulder. And if you want some insight, or maybe some, some possible feedback, I would give that to you too, but not unsolicited. So with that being said, let's look at the overall energy of the week, and that again is Mighty Goddess Freya's rune. That's Fehu, and it talks about all things dealing with abundance, wealth, success, materialistic gain in any way, shape, or form, fertility included. Okay, that's the overall energy for this week as it comes to a close. Now, the energy that we pulled in advance for today was Radho, but Radho in the reverse. Okay, now typically in the upright it talks about being the blessed journey, where you walk hand in hand with the gods on your journey or on your path. In this particular case, it's exactly the opposite. So an upset of plans, delays, unexpected travel or unwanted travel, being uprooted from your home, or a city, state, or whatever the case may be, moving without truly wanting to. Maybe you do want to move, but it's talking about unsolicited, undesired travel, if you will. So again, feeling lost, maybe in crisis, having a sense of being in stasis, or feeling rigid in your thoughts, feelings, desires, maybe feeling a sense of injustice, that whatever is happening in your life was being brought about without justice. I would say that nothing happens to us that hasn't been already, being blessed from above. And that means sometimes we need to go through what we go through in order to learn certain things. Even the harshest of circumstances can either make us stronger, or it can break us. And I understand that. And it's not always easy to see. And sometimes it's hard to see the positive in a situation. Believe me, I still feel those things from time to time. I ask the question, what is this supposed to teach me? Why am I still experiencing or going through this? I thought I've learned this lesson already. And sometimes maybe that's partially true, but maybe there was something you didn't, or were refusing to see further in that particular lesson. That's why you had to repeat it. Okay, so that's just my perspective on things. but I've given it a great deal of thought over the 6.5 decades I've been alive. So, all right. So it also talks about irrationality, disruptions, dislocations, as I've stated, a demotion. Perhaps you lost your job, and then it talks about feeling in a sense of delusion and even the possibility of death. So we're seeing death throughout this entire reading. In fact, we see it 2 additional times after this one. And again, if you're feeling this way, please just reach out to me if you got nobody else. I know I'm a stranger, but sometimes strangers can be far more understanding and loving than people in our own life. That's why we're feeling the way we feel in the first place a lot of times. Now, our present energy is in the upright, and it's Degas. Degas talks about where two opposites come together. Reciprocity talks about daylight clarity versus nighttime obscurity. Balance, transformation, and place where opposites meet. I've already said that. So security and certainty also. Awareness and awakening. So these are all very positive energies, but when you're going through an awakening, sometimes it can lead us into a sense of despair, especially when you realize just how many things you've done wrong. And I know it's easy to fall into that sense of despair sometimes when everything is coming down on you all at once, it seems. But you're never given more than what you can handle, no matter how bad it is. You know what they say, especially within the realms of spirituality. Source or God or spirit or whatever it is that you believe in only gives one what they're capable of handling. So if you're going through a lot, it's because they know that you can handle a lot. That may not bring you a lot of comfort, but it does show your level of maturity within the spiritual realm, and that may give you, that extra energetic push forward that you need. Maybe not. I hope it does. Now, as far as our obstacles and challenges for today, we have Laguz in the reverse. Now, Laguz typically talks about anything that's water related. Rivers, lakes, streams, oceans, the flow of water, leaking water, but also just like in any other form of divination, it refers to what water represents within the 4 elements that are used in like tarot, for example. Water represents emotions. So the flow of emotions, or emotions leaking out of you, the feeling of feeling just depleted and everything else because, the emotional leaks that you have within you. It also talks about things in terms of your psychic abilities and things of that nature. But again, in the reverse, it talks about you having a desire or a need to escape a certain situation that you're currently in. Maybe you're feeling tempted in some way, and if you don't know what you can be tempted by outside of money and let's just say sex, then just look at the 7 deadly sins that are utilized within Roman Catholicism in particular, and gives you an idea of all the many ways, envy and pride and just a number of other things, materialistic and non-materialistic, that we can be bound and tempted by. Okay, maybe desiring another person's spouse, things of that nature. Alright, so it also talks about greed and acting against one's own conscience. A lack of creativity and feeling bound in a situation. But again, that's emotional. You're locking yourself into the situation. It doesn't imply being physically bound. It just says that you're feeling bound by a situation. That's in your own head, which means you can change that with a change in perspective. Okay? But what it also gets into towards the end is obsession, madness, perversity, and unfortunately suicide. So again, we're seeing for the second time in this reading the possibility of death. If you are feeling that way, again, I open up my door. If you wish to speak to somebody, you are free to open up and speak to me. and I will listen to anything you might have to say, and you know, we can share perspectives, we can swap stories, or I can just listen to what you have to say if you have nobody else to do so. Okay. Now, in terms of our help and advice, we have Canis. Now, this is one of the runes that I have tattooed on my body. I have it on my hand because I use my hand, obviously, to write and create. I make music, I write poetry, and I've written entire essays from a geopolitical standpoint. And again, I studied these things for decades, so um, I'm very creative in regards to that. So I've called upon that particular energy, working with it to help me to continue to create. But it is in the reverse in this case. So it talks about determination of something, and again, facing up to one's own death. Um, Talks about giving up of their old, talks about disease, breakups, instability, lack of creativity, and nakedness being exposed. In other words, not just from a physical standpoint, but the things that you've done in the dark are now being shown to the world. So it would be obvious why you would feel the need for wanting to delete yourself and things of that nature, but don't do it. And like I said, if you need somebody to listen, please talk to me. So anyways, that's what Canes in the reverse stands for as far as today's energy. Now, as far as our future outcome, we have the rune Perthrow, and Perthrow just happens to be in the upright. So it talks about games of chance, it talks about one's destiny, one's occult abilities, the ability to see one's own fate and destiny ahead of time. To see things which are hidden. It talks about the realms which are hidden, like the underworld, for example. It talks about, feminine mysteries, the vagina, the divine feminine. It talks about female fertility. It talks about fellowship and joy. It talks about evolutionary change, and it's considered to be a very good lot. So that's a good way to close off an otherwise somewhat somber reading in terms of somebody out there wanting to take their own life. And if it is because you've been given a terminal, what's the word? I guess you can say the outcome in a medical sense is terminal for you, then you have my deepest sympathies and everything else. And again, I open up my door if you need to talk about it. If it's for somebody because of their karmic ways, even though this may be the way it's being administered through disease, and not everybody who passes away from disease is literally just being punished, as far as I know, for some very terrible wrongdoing and the lack of desire to make it right. Although I definitely have gotten enough energy over the past several months to know that that does apply to some people out there who are probably listening. Otherwise, I wouldn't be picking up that energy. I know it's true in my case. There are people out there who've been working against me for a number of years. Some who have done the most heinous of things. Not just to me, but to other people, and gotten away with it with other people. Because I stood my ground, I've challenged them, and I've pointed it out, trying to help them out of the situation they created. But they have refused to take that advice, and refused to look in the mirror at themselves, and refused, to turn away from their evil ways, so to speak. We are all coming to an end of a cycle, so that means we're reaping either good or bad fruit, that we've sown. So I don't know what to say about that, but I wish you all out there, of course, luck, victory, and that means even the karmics who are out there watching or looking for answers right now, since they've finally come to the realization they've been lied to, and the people they've trusted all of this time. Now things are falling apart. They're seeing who their friends are, and they're seeing that they have very few of them that are around them. It's unfortunate. And, again, you have my empathy. I can easily put myself into that category, as I've lived it many times in my, again, 6.5 decades of life. And I don't necessarily have to go through it to understand it or feel empathy for those who do, although I have, which allows me to feel it even more so. If you need somebody to listen, I'm there. I'll just leave that out there. Otherwise, I wish you all victory, and of course, way in the future, we'll all meet again someday in Valhalla, to make war in that final epic battle that every belief system talks about. Okay. All right. So, God bless, and I'll see you all later.